All right. This is the original council house of the Chickasaw Nation. Now, after removal, we came to Indian Territory. And Indian Territory, we lived with the Choctaw for a period of time, and I'll probably say that several times in the tour. But we lived with the Choctaw, and then when we separated from them, here in Indian Territory, we built our council house. This council house was requested to be built 1848. They completed it 1854, and then our first elected governor, Cyrus Harris, this was his governor's office. We used this council house for 18 months, and then we built a brick capitol, which sat next door, and then it went in, they used it for a period of time, and then when it went into disarray and they didn't use it anymore, and then we built the capitol that you have already visited. But this one right here goes back to the time frame of 1848. And Cyrus Harris, first elected governor of our nation, and he was our governor and 5 different times in our history, Chickasaw history. He was elected governor 5 different times in our history. And if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'm going to move you around this direction.
Yes, you have the direct voting system to select governor.
Yes, yes, we did. At the time
until nowadays.
At the time frame that he was elected, in our Constitution, it says that our elected official will be named as governor. Most of the tribes have chiefs. And we did at one time. Edmund Pickens, when we came here from our homeland of Mississippi during Indian removal, we had a chief, Edmund Pickens. But after that, then our Constitution, which was written in 1856, in that Constitution it says that we, our tribal leaders, will be called governors. And the way they elected him at that time, they didn't have voting like paper. We didn't have that. The people, as candidates, they would say, this is the candidate or this is the candidate, and the people that gathered, and they all gathered, they came together at that time, they would stand behind the candidate that they were voting for, and then they would go down and count the people that voted. The one that had the most votes, that was the one that was elected. Today in our nation we do have a voting system, and so we use that to elect our tribal officials today. We have the governor, lieutenant governor, and we have 13 legislators. And then we also have the courts. We have judges in our courts, and they are also elected. Okay?
You have had your own constitution,
Yes.
and own governor, and all governing system.
Yes.
If so, the Chickasaw people, the people of the U.S. people, or the only Chickasaw Nation's people, I mean that what is the identity of Chickasaw people?
The Chickasaw people?
Yes.
The Chickasaw people has to come through the Dawes Rolls. And I'll explain that to you when we get to another area, how we are considered Chickasaw and how that came to be. But we are a tribal people within, we are a nation within a nation. Okay? We are a sovereign nation within a sovereign nation. Okay?
The double nationality you have.
All of us are Chickasaw. And we also have Chickasaw mix. And today in our history, we do not have a blood quantum. Our governor has to be a quarter Indian to be elected as a governor of our nation. He has to be 1/4 Chickasaw. And that's in our Constitution also. But we do not stress a blood quantum that, we haven't changed that yet. Some tribes have, but the Chickasaw tribe has not. I am a quarter Chickasaw. My grandmother full blood, my mother half, and my father wasn't Indian. My grandfather wasn't Indian. That's how come. But we come through we're a matrilineal society. We come through our mother's side, and my grandmother was full blood, or 4/4, as we say.
Yeah.
A lot of history about that. But I am a quarter Chickasaw. And we do
Quarter
not...
Chickasaw. Quarter Chickasaw, 25%.
Yes, there you go. And also, Chickasaws in our early history were called Chickasaw. We got that name from the white man. We were called Chickasas. Chickasha.
Yes, how many Chickasaw people out of this territory? There are many.
We are over 50,000.
50,000.
50,000 strong.
Ah.
Yes, and that's all over the United States. I mean, and also in other countries too, because we have people who travel and live in other countries. But right now, and this just came out in our Chickasaw Times. Our Chickasaw Times is our monthly newspaper that the nation prints, and that information was in our Chickasaw Times this month.
Chickasaw Times, written in the English and
It's written in English, yes.
Only written
Only
in
English.
Okay.
This right here is a whipping tree. And times in our homeland. And then this was brought to Indian Territory. In Indian Territory, the whipping tree was Chickasaw punishment handed down through the tribal court to the Chickasaw. And according to your crime is the number of whippings or lashings that were applied. And the whipping and lashings were applied by a hickory switch, and only hickory. And if you stole something, petty theft, as you might call it, stole a chicken, or you might have stole a shirt or something like that, and the Chickasaw would give you lashings up to 39 lashes. And if you committed that same crime again, then you could get up to 104 lashes. You could go willingly to this tree by wrapping your arms around it, or you could be tied to it. Now, in our history, a Chickasaw man committed murder. And in the Chickasaw court, his sentence was execution. The Chickasaw court gave him up to 18 months to get his affairs in order. And in that time frame, he might have been planting crops and gathering those for the family he would leave behind, or he may have been having to help take care of a sick family member. The Chickasaw man came back for his punishment 18 months later. He brought with him his witness and his executioner. The Chickasaw man requested to be shot, and that request was honored. So after his execution, the witness carried his body back to his tribal family for his tribal burial. And if you're going to ask why didn't he run? Why did he come back? Honor is very important. And his family that he left behind, if he had done that, would not have been treated well. So he came back for his punishment. Now, one of the elders that wrote this story that was here during that time frame says the whipping tree was not used very much because it was dishonor. And also, you ask why the man requested to be shot. When we traveled, and I say we, the Chickasaw people traveled from their homeland of Mississippi to Indian Territory. They came through an area of Fort Smith, Arkansas. At that time frame of history, there was a judge known as the hanging judge. His gallows was 8 to 12 that he would hang at a time. And the people would come to this hanging. Well, when the Chickasaw got there and they saw this, which was considered death to them, dishonorable, they did not think much of the hanging process and the celebration that went on. Because to them, when a person died, that was the death of a generation. So they did not honor the hanging, although there were hangings in our history. They did not honor that. That is the reason the man asked to be shot.
Yeah. If so, you have your own prison, your prison building.
No, we do not have our own prison. The Chickasaw Nation honors the U.S. nation, and we honor our town's laws.
Yeah,
So,
I understand.
Our Chickasaw people are put in jails with the just like they're citizens of the United States, and they are put in the same jails.
Yeah.
But we do have a tribal court that on certain, there's certain things, a lot of it has to do with Chickasaw children. And Chickasaw children, when they are taken from families, they are they try to put them with a Chickasaw family, a foster home of Chickasaws. Doesn't always get to happen. But in our nation, 1978, there was a law that was passed that said if a Chickasaw child was to be adopted, you know, somebody wanted to not have their Indian child, it had, whatever tribe it was, if it was Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Seminole, and those are the 5 civilized tribes that you hear about, they had to ask that tribe permission to adopt this child to someone other than their tribe or an Indian family. And so that happened in 1978. And that law, I understand, is trying to be changed.
Yeah.
And having to do with, if you've been listening to Baby Veronica case, you might have been listening to that one. If you live at Stillwater,
Yeah.
there's a case right now. The little girl is Chickasaw. I mean Cherokee. She's Cherokee. When the parents separated, the father didn't know that the mother was expecting, and she didn't tell him. And then, when she didn't want the child, then she took it to the courts, and it was adopted by a family in South Carolina. And it was approved through the Indian people. Well, now he found out about it, so he wants his child. But the baby has been with this family in South Carolina